Hello everyone, welcome to this session. Our chapter is waves, and specifically we're discussing about the sound waves. So in our previous session, we discussed the musical sounds. So in this session, we move on to the other part whereby we will discuss the musical instruments. So basically, we'll be talking about the various different musical instruments. Now, we'll start with a simple definition of a musical instrument. A musical instrument, this is just a device that is constructed or modified for the purpose of making music. So that kind of device that is specially constructed, or just it is specially modified for the purpose of making music, is what we call this musical instrument. Now, these musical instruments, they can be categorized into three categories. There's four. The first one is the wind instruments. Then there is the percussion instruments, and then last but not least, there is string instruments. So all these three are just the simple categories of the musical instruments. Now we'll be discussing them one by one, starting with the first one, that is the wind instruments. By definition, this is just the class of these musical instruments that always require a person or just you to blow into a specific wind instrument by following an order to ensure that the sound that you desire is produced. So these kind of instruments, they generate the music through blowing a certain kind of a specific kind of this instrument by special or by certain kind of a desired or specific order, just to get that the sound that you desire. Now, the instruments, they can be expected to work depending on the principles of frequencies, sound waves, acoustics, resonance, and the harmonics. We've discussed some of these principles, especially the principles of music. We've discussed them previously. So these instruments, the wind instruments, they can be expected to work depending on these principles of frequencies, sound waves, acoustics, resonance, and harmonics. Uh, the pitch of the produced sound when you start blowing the instrument is actually dependent on the length of the air column through which the waves of the sound vibrate. So that's how the pitch of these wind instruments are dependent on, or just how it is for the pitch of the wind instruments. The pitch of the sound that is produced using this instrument is actually dependent on just given length of the air column through which the waves of the sound vibrate. Now, some of the most popular wind instruments are like piccolo, flute, clarinet, shakuhachi, bakoni, okoe, oboe, this accordion, English horn, harmonica, saxophone, pianica, bagpipe, etc., etc. So these are just examples of the most popular or common wind instruments. And here is the diagram, or is this just a illustration of all these wind instruments that we have commonly in our daily life? As you can see, all of them, there's clarinet, there's flute, there's saxophone, there's the baston, there's trumpet, and the oboe. So all these are just examples of the wind instruments that we have in our daily life. Moving on, let's see the percussion instruments. These instruments, they require you just to strike the surface of the instrument to generate vibrations to produce or to generate your desired note. So these instruments, they require striking of the instrument, especially the surface of the instrument, just to generate the vibrations, just to get that desired note. Now, the percussion instruments, they can actually be divided into mainly two parts or two types. The first type includes the tuned instruments that are known to produce a definite pitch or series of these different pitches. So that's the first type. And some of the examples of these tuned percussion instruments, they include a saxophone, vibraphone, marimba, tubular bells, timpani, or kettle drum. So all these are just examples of the tuned percussion instruments. And the second type is the second type of these percussion instruments is the indefinite pitch instruments. Its examples include the triangle, the castanets, the lato, the cymbals, the tambourine, imbal, and gong. All these are just examples of this kind of percussion instruments. And here is the illustration of all these kinds of percussion instruments that you can see in our daily life. And last but not least, talking about these musical instruments, talking specifically about the string instruments. They are composed of these instruments that work based on the sound wave vibrations produced by strings. So these musical instruments, they generate these sound waves, uh, vibrations based on these various strings. Now, uh, the pitch that can be produced by these instruments is dependent on the length of air column and the type and the thickness of the strings that are used. So the string instruments will just based on the type and kind of thickness of the strings that are used to generate various kinds of these sound wave vibrations. Now, among of the most popular string instruments, they include as follows: there's guitar, there's viola, there's violin, there's cello, there's mandolin, there's harp, there's double bass and banjo. All these are just most popular in the common string instruments that we have out there. And here is just a simple illustration of all of them. Electric guitar, violin, there's viola, the cello, then there's harp, there's bass guitar, there's banjo, there's guitar. All these are just the basic string instruments that we have out there that generate these sounds. So I hope that's clear, everyone. Thank you for listening. We've covered up these various musical instruments. We've discussed them in 3 categories. I hope that's all clear for this session, and thank you.